And we want to go back out to breaking news outside the ICE headquarters in South Portland because there's a confrontation underway between protesters and federal agents.
Glass shatters, fireworks slice through the night sky, and from atop an IC facility, federal agents release a barrage of flashbangs that turn a demonstration into chaos in seconds. What began as a calm No Kings civil rights march transforms into a rooftop clash outside Portland's ICE building. Officers injured, tempers ignited, and gas canisters arcing through the darkness. Within moments, a symbol of sanctuary morphs into a combat zone. Dumpsters repurposed as barricades, tactical agents hit with blinding laser beams. There's no gentle lead-in tonight. We're dropping straight into the chaos. We'll unpack how solidarity dissolved into confrontation, why local and federal tensions are boiling over in real time, and how this facility became the focal point of Portland's latest standoff. Buckle in. This story moves fast, loud, and hard. The No Kings March had wrapped up, but the fireworks weren't over. At around 6:30 p.m. on June 14th, while thousands made their way back downtown, a smaller, determined group converged on the South Portland ICE site, shifting protest energy into something volatile. They fired off fireworks and smoke grenades, hurled rocks, and slammed a glass door with what was described as a makeshift battering ram, shattering it instantly. 4 federal officers sustained injuries in the fray. That's when things escalated. Agents on the ground and on the roof launched tear gas, flashbangs, and other crowd control rounds, relying on tactics used in prior clashes. Portland Police Bureau, playing a measured role, declared the scene a riot, made several arrests, and cleared routes for medics. Interestingly, none of the wounded required medical treatment. This wasn't the first trouble at the facility. Just 3 days earlier, on June 11th, protesters piled flammable debris against the building and lit a flare, leading to arrests for reckless burning and assaulting an officer. By early July, 3 people faced serious federal charges, including assault with incendiary devices and damage to communications equipment. Later that evening, a Portland man was charged federally in connection with the June 14th incident.
First at 11, a Portland man is facing serious federal charges tonight in connection to a protest that happened at the Portland ICE facility.
What unfolded paints a disturbing pattern. Showdowns where flames erupt, glass splinters, and agents respond from above. But here's the deeper conflict. Beyond the dramatic visuals, the community is grappling with how far protest should go before it becomes chaos. It was all-out bedlam when agents atop the IC roof fired tear gas, flashbangs, and other less lethal rounds into the surging crowd. Protesters retaliated with water bottles, rocks, and smoke canisters, while fresh graffiti, messages like "IC out of PDX," spread across the facade. At that moment, tensions maxed out. Agents unleashed pepper balls, CS gas, and flashbang grenades both from the rooftop and the ground. The air thickened with chemical irritants as the crowd answered with fireworks and improvised projectiles. Portland police arrived after the initial eruption, declared the gathering a riot just after 6:30 p.m., and moved to disperse it. In that haze, flashbangs bursting, gas swirling, Portland was back in a scene it knew too well. Protesters and federal agents locked in a high-stakes face-off. The lingering question, how far will it go this time, remained unanswered, disappearing like the flash of a grenade. The spectacle didn't stop at shouting. Protesters pushed dumpsters, pallets, scooters, and even lit debris into place, building barricades that sealed the facility's driveway. Fires flickered nearby, adding to the riot atmosphere. It wasn't just debris, it was deliberate obstruction. Tensions peaked when someone aimed a high-powered laser at officers, hitting them with a piercing beam. That act led to the arrest of 22-year-old Eduardo Diaz for unlawful use of a laser pointer. He arrived masked and wearing a vest, seemingly ready for confrontation. Another protester, Azil Chambers, allegedly struck an officer's eye with a laser beam and now faces assault and trespassing charges. 2 more individuals were also arrested on federal counts that night. Once barricades rose, federal agents intensified their response. unleashing tear gas, pepper balls, and flashbangs in rapid succession. Portland once again stood at the thin line where protest shifts into violent clash. Its next chapter uncertain.
New Portland Mayor Keith Wilson is showing support toward Portland's sanctuary city status in the face of potential retaliation from the Trump administration.
Daylight hours on June 14th carried a completely different tone, more like a festival than a fight. Tens of thousands joined the No Kings rally, waving inverted American flags, marching along Tom McCall Waterfront Park, and blending activism with drag performances and whimsical unicorn costumes. The message was unmistakable: a stand for civil rights against heavy-handed ICE raids. It was creative, peaceful, and united. But as evening fell, a smaller group broke away, heading for the ICE facility. Within hours, the calm shattered. Fireworks and rocks flew. Makeshift battering rams breached glass doors, and 4 officers were injured. Not seriously, but enough to change the mood entirely. Portland police, supportive of lawful expression but opposed to violence, declared the gathering an unlawful assembly, moved in with charges, and dispersed the crowd. Mayor Keith Wilson later noted that roughly 50,000 people had marched peacefully that day, praising their unity while warning that the kind of destruction seen at the ICE site carried consequences. Since taking office, Wilson has backed Portland's sanctuary city stance, despite possible pushback from federal authorities.
24-year-old Robert Hupps is accused of aggravated assault of a federal officer and destruction of federal property.
From morning into afternoon, Portland had been a vivid portrait of civic unity. By nightfall, that portrait ripped in two. The celebration gave way to confrontation, a perfect example of how fast energy can flip when emotions run high. Portland police moved quickly as the unrest around the ICE facility intensified. On June 11th, 3 people were arrested for lighting a flare against the building, 2 for reckless burning, 1 for assaulting an officer. By June 13th, another 10 protesters faced charges from arson to resisting arrest. Then came June 14th. During the riot declaration, police made targeted arrests for attempted assault on officers, theft, DUI, and criminal mischief. 4 more were arrested later that night. Charges ranged from interfering with police to harassment and property damage. The U.S. Attorney's Office added federal counts for assaulting officers, arson, using incendiary devices, and damaging government property. Some faced felonies, others misdemeanors. One high-profile arrest was 24-year-old Robert Jacob Hoops, accused of smashing a glass door with a stop sign and throwing rocks that injured an officer. Police emphasized that these arrests weren't about silencing speech. They were about stopping crimes. What began as a march ended for some in a courtroom, as blocked streets and broken glass turned into criminal cases. Even before the violence, activists had momentum. Nearly 15,000 signatures on a petition urging the city council to revoke ICE's conditional use permit for the South Waterfront facility. That petition moved from online to in-person action, culminating in a packed July 16th council hearing. Chants filled the chamber, forcing a recess. Why the push? Investigations showed ICE may have breached permit conditions more than 28 times, holding people longer than the 12-hour limit, in some cases over 24 hours. That evidence prompted city leaders to explore legal options for revocation. Meanwhile, ICE Director Tom Homan signaled federal pushback. So the confrontation wasn't just on the streets, it was at City Hall, with policy potentially on the line. The deeper story behind the rooftop clashes was a city asking whether ICE should remain in Portland at all.
New measures are being taken to protect the federal ICE building in South Portland.
Flashback to June 2018, before rooftop tear gas and dumpster fires. That summer, protesters set up Occupy ICE outside a Portland facility, building a camp with food, medical tents, childcare, and story time for kids. It lasted over 10 days, ultimately forcing ICE to close the site for safety reasons. A rare grassroots victory. That movement inspired similar camps nationwide. Today's protests echo that spirit, but the tactics have shifted, from tents and community kitchens to lasers, barricades, and munitions. The fight remains the same. Portland pushing back against ICE. The pattern is clear. ICE appears, Portland responds, sometimes peacefully, sometimes not. The question is always, what happens next?
She's got injury in both ears right now, and she's got some ringing in her ears that won't stop, and then some other physical symptoms.
In the days after the June 14th unrest, crews boarded up the ICE facility's broken windows, sealing it against further damage. But protest didn't stop. It simply moved a few blocks away. Tents went up, banners unfurled, and chants carried through the night. The noise and activity affected nearby residents. One woman, Cloud Elvin Grail, sued the city, claiming overnight protest sounds caused hearing damage. The protest had become as much a legal battle as a street movement. For now, the ICE building may look silent behind plywood, but the resistance outside remains loud, both literally and politically. The fight over whether ICE belongs in Portland isn't over, and the city's streets are still its stage.